Hey,
Hey,
why the helmet at home?
it's cold.
Helmet warm? I thought it was for protection.
No, it's soft inside.
Let me give you a little tip. There's this thing called a hat. There are also hoods. Yes, yes, you can wear a hat when it's cold, not necessarily a helmet.
No, the foam inside warms better.
It keeps you warmer? Then why is it so cold in your house?
Because winter has come.
Well, not yet. What month is it currently? Or is it that your time zone is half a month ahead, perhaps even two-thirds of a month ahead?
November is essentially winter.
Well, technically it's still autumn. Technically.
According to the calendar, yes. But physically, it's already winter. It's already snowing.
Well, it varies for everyone, you know. But in your case, depending on where you're located, September might already feel like winter.
They will be turning off the heating in some places very soon.
They'll cut off yours? Why would they turn off the heating right before winter?
Not on purpose.
I don't get it. What do you mean?
You know, a rocket flies like this. Fuel.
Are you referring to Ukraine? Well, we shall see. We shall see. For starters, you're not exactly well versed in this matter. Heating isn't entirely reliant on electricity. Yeah, the lights might go out, but we all have generators and EcoFlow units these days. Do you happen to know what an EcoFlow is?
No, what's that?
If you don't know, then you don't need to. Let's say it's an accumulator, a storage battery and accumulator.
Like solar?
No, a storage one, an accumulator, a power bank, you know what that is.
Got it.
Right, it's just a much larger version of that, you see. It's on a larger scale. You hook it up to your apartment and it will power you for a full day.
What if there's no power source? Store energy?
What do you mean nowhere to draw it from?
Because let's say all the power plants get destroyed.
Well, we have been connected to the European system since last winter, you see. So European countries are essentially serving as donors for our electricity supply.
But all those routes can be destroyed too.
Well, you weren't able to destroy everything last winter. And as you know, last winter no one was prepared. But this time everyone knows what you're going to do. That's why our air defense will be exactly where you're going to strike.
Uh-huh.
Nobody's going to be defending fields and forests. The priority is the energy facilities.
European sources, like newspapers and various media outlets, are reporting that the upcoming winter could potentially be lethal for Ukraine.
Well, we know you're terrorists and that you try to destroy the civilian population. We'll see how it goes, as I said. We survived the last one, and I think we'll survive this one too.
If we intended to destroy civilians, they wouldn't be here, truly.
And how is it that when you just said it yourself? Or is destroying the very sources of warmth, illumination, sustenance, and hydration not considered destruction? I'd argue.
Those are strategic targets.
Well then, go ahead and shoot at those that are connected to military objects. But you're attacking civilian infrastructure. You're essentially threatening me that I'll be left without electricity.
Am I?
Well, yeah, you are in a veiled way. There you go.
Yeah, but that sounds funny.
Okay, what was it you just said? You mentioned that this winter it's possible we might freeze.
Yes, possibly.
So,
The Western media is writing about it.
in your opinion, will civilian people freeze to death? Is that not an act of terrorism? Or do you think terrorism means you have to, I don't know, shoot someone right in the forehead?
A terrorist, let's say, holds hostages.
No, you've just been playing too much Counter-Strike. That happens sometimes. Terrorism is a tactic used to exert pressure on the civilian population when there is no possibility of gaining an advantage in a direct military confrontation.
Right now, the Ukrainian civilian population is being held hostage.
And that's why you're killing these hostages from a distance, is that it?
But you try not to kill hostages.
Well, you're the one saying we're going to freeze. You're not saying you'll be shooting near, at Volnovakha. Oh wait, Volnovakha is occupied now. You'll be shooting at Avdiivka.
First off, the Russian armed forces aren't to blame for this, but
No, you are primarily responsible because you launched the attack and are killing people. And what happens in our country is our business alone. And we'll figure out what suits us and what doesn't. Did you come here to teach and enlighten us as if you were our instructors? You don't even comprehend half the things I'm telling you, yet you've chosen to come and impart knowledge to others. You're sitting in your apartment wearing a helmet telling me who will figure things out. When will you figure it out? You're constantly on the defensive, you lost control of Kherson, you lost Kharkiv, and you didn't even reach Kiev. Well, you can tell me whatever you want right now. You do realize that what you're saying, I'm not just going to feed you some fantastical nonsense. You're the one who's feeding me all this nonsense. You and I are currently playing with objective factors, so to speak. What I mean is, I'm trying to tell you things that you won't be able to disagree with me about. Things that are different than if I were to tell you that you are all Satanists and the Lord God despises every single one of you. And Ukraine is the hand of God, here to finally destroy all of you. It sounds pretty cool, doesn't it? But I'm sure you wouldn't agree with that. So you and I are discussing objective things we both can agree on. But you, however, are just piling on some fantastical ideas. Now just consider the level of support Ukraine once had.
how is that a fantasy?
Well, you're making things up, saying you'll do this, you'll show up, you'll teach someone a lesson. You already tried that. Going to Kiev was the right move, as it's essential to cut off the head of the snake, isn't that right? Why would anyone bother fighting for every small patch of woodland? You come to Kiev, you wipe out the decision-making center, and that's all there is to it. And that's exactly what you did. That's correct. Everyone does that. But it didn't work. You got a beating and withdrew. It didn't work out. And now you're telling me, oh, we'll be back. But when you do arrive, you'll declare, here we are, even though you're just saying, we'll arrive and teach a lesson.
Think taking a city is easy? Well, in our objective reality,
Then why did you retreat at all? I mean, why did you even go there in the first place?
take Kiev and that's it. But at this moment, well, engaging in combat operations within urban areas, to put it mildly, doesn't yield positive results. The casualties would be so extreme that no one would desire such an outcome.
But why did you go in the first place? Look, you occupied Kherson and put up posters there saying Russia is here forever. And what's left in Kherson now? No posters and no Russia, you understand. So that was hardly the plan. You can go on TV and tell everyone that your plan was to go in, lose tens of thousands of people, and then withdraw. No, you withdrew because you got a beating, and that's the real reason you retreated, not because it was your decision. You're just walking into a meat grinder, dying, and getting your own soldiers killed. Just look. Before the full-scale invasion, when did the war start for us? In 2014. Didn't you see how Ukraine was previously aided, how other nations assisted Ukraine? They provided almost no help. Why? Because there's this big, formidable Russia that's going to come in, wipe out all of NATO, and kill everyone. Everyone was truly scared. But then Russia came out and finally had to face us in an honest fight, not just shooting at, shall we say, forces that weren't exactly equal like they did in Syria, for example. But they went against them, even though you understand that Ukraine's army is much smaller, considerably weaker, yet at least some resistance is now taking place. And the entire world witnessed that you are worth nothing, that you are neither the 2nd nor the 22nd Army, and now everyone is lending their support.
So why haven't they crushed us yet?
Well, how do you mean? Because you are still vastly larger than us. You are Goliath and we are David, if that analogy means anything to you. We are much smaller.
Europe and America are actually unable to truly prevail against us, aren't they?
There are no PMCs coming from either America or Europe. They are assisting us with weapons and financial aid. No one wishes to.
And PMCs are present there, so-called volunteers?
How many?
I can't give you specific numbers.
Well, roughly, do you know?
I think over 1,000.
Over 1,000. 1,000 men? Come on, you answered your own question. Let's even say 10,000. I'll help you out. What exactly is 10,000? You just had another mobilization, didn't you? 350,000 men were recruited. What is 10,000 compared to that? That was announced about a month ago, wasn't it, roughly?
It wasn't.
It didn't? Okay, fine, it didn't. So how many of you are fighting, in your opinion, again?
And the last one, what was its name again? Limited no mobilization?
Well, what you have there is a mobilization that is limited, incomplete, not whole, half-baked, quarter-baked.
300,000 were recruited, yes, but actually only a small portion of that total number is actively engaged in combat.
Exactly. And that's 300,000. Yet you talk about 1,000 mercenaries. Again, let's even round it up to 10,000. Let's take 10 times more. Well, you even have that Freedom of Russia Legion composed of your own citizens. And then there's also what's called the RDC, isn't there? The Russian Volunteer Corps as well. There are roughly 10 to 15,000 of them as well, but those are clearly not the forces capable of reaching Moscow in just 3 days. Furthermore, no one ever pledged to march all the way to Moscow, and honestly, we don't even require your Moscow. Everything, all the activity happening on Russian territory is simply to push you back into Ukrainian territory. We don't want anything from you, understand? We live.
But it's not working.
Of course it's not working out. This could go on for a very, very long time. Do you understand? When Russia's enormous army invaded Ukraine, the mere fact that we managed to hold out even a week longer than initially predicted was already considered a victory. That's already cool, a victory. And we've been holding on for 2 years now. And yet, while defending, you storm Avdiivka but are unable to capture it. That's already a victory. Understand? The fact you couldn't execute your plans is already a triumph. We are very uneven opponents, very much so. You boasted that you would eliminate all of NATO. And now you're proud that Ukraine cannot penetrate your defenses. You were supposed to wipe out Ukraine in just 2 days.
We are now standing against all of NATO.
How so in reality?
And how much money are they funneling into your weaponry, equipment, and so forth? How many instructors, how many PMCs are coming to you?
What kind of instructors? Do you realize that the most valuable instructors right now will actually be the Ukrainian ones? Because you yourself realize that the most precious things in life are indeed experience and practical application. And right now, the Ukrainian military has the best practice. We receive assistance with weapons and money, but it's barely scraping by because it's not their own money, and no one is eager to provide a large amount of funds. Everyone is trying, just like when you go to a store, you're trying to find the golden mean and buy what you need without spending too much money. You know,
How many billions of dollars have already been put in?
well, I think it's somewhere around that. I can't give you an exact figure, but let's just say 100 billion, let's say. What are 100 billion though if, how much more is that really? It's not really more. Well, okay, let's take 200, but it actually wasn't 200.
But those sums are huge.
No, they're not astronomical for you and me. For defense, it's the most expensive sector.
It's comparable to the budget of some European country, let's say Poland.
The American defense budget, I believe, is something in the order of 1.3 trillion. Trillion. And they give it to us, even though we're fighting against Russia, the largest country, you understand? And everyone understands that all this is happening. Plus, there are currently forces in America, like Trump, the pro-Russian Trump, for example, who is pulling things in his own direction. Currently, the American Congress is unable to approve new tranches for us because they are scrutinizing every single penny. No one is willing to simply give things away for free. Everyone is hoping to achieve their goals with minimal casualties.
And now Israel has appeared.
Exactly. And he didn't just appear out of nowhere either. We all know who provoked this to distract, to divert the information sphere, and to pull away funds. And despite that, you are on the defensive.
Aren't you concerned that with the emergence of the conflict in the Middle East, your situation might be somewhat diminished? Reduced?
Of course, it's nice, but look, if an enemy comes into your house and intends to kill your family, you would likely fight to the death. Well, that's exactly what I would do and what I will do. And it's not even about whether you'll win or not. You're just sitting there with your family, your kids. Are you going to say, oh, there are 4 of them and they also have sticks. I probably can't handle it. I'll just leave you here and run out the window. You'll fight to the death. We are fighting a holy war. We are defending our own land.
Let's imagine a situation. You are in slavery. Right? And then to your master.
I'm not in slavery. I have no master. I'll cut that.
Let's imagine for a moment you're having sex with 2 men. I think that analogy. When you talk, I don't interrupt, so listen carefully.
I'm telling you that analogy immediately doesn't apply here. We don't have slavery. We had Maidans, right? Tell me, did we have Maidans?
You did.
Well, for us, the people are the source of power. For us, power is an instrument of country governance. It's not some czar father for us, you understand? No one can force us to do something we don't want to do. We can argue for a long time about whether we are Nazis or not, but no one is forcing us to do anything we don't want to. This is our choice, and we are defending our own land. This land is mine. I can explain the practical aspect to you, which is that not everyone will be able to flee and depart.
But are you aware that your land doesn't belong to you?
No, you're the one who's not aware. Everything's fine. No one is taking our land. It's ours.
It's all been purchased, entirely bought up by Western companies.
You sound like you're from TV. If you're gonna say something, prove it. Why am I asking you to confirm this but not your other assertions? Because what you're saying right now is just some subjective, unconfirmed information, seeing as there is no proof for it. You understand? If there were such things, then Skabeeva would have certainly shown them 10 times over by now. You understand?
All this material aid, it's gratuitous, right? Just out of humanitarianism.
That's just another fable. Every single country always acts solely for its own benefit. It is certainly in our best interest to protect our own land. It's in America's interest not to let this all reach Poland. Exactly as you just said. If Russia advances to the Polish border, then Americans will be compelled to intervene. They won't even be asked for their opinion anymore. Article 5 of the NATO statute will be triggered, and they realize, let's repel an attack from Russia in a non-aligned Ukraine. Therefore, we are being helped not because of affection. Why should they love us after all? Everyone loves their own country. It is simply beneficial. That's the first point. The second point is this. If we now demonstrate that might makes right, that you can just come in against all laws and take someone else's territory. Well, tomorrow China will go for Taiwan. Tomorrow, or rather North Korea will start shelling South Korea. No, they want to use this as an example to demonstrate that such times are truly a thing of the past. You know what it is you're always saying? We can do it again. But the whole world is saying, never again. Just never again, do you understand? They don't want to demonstrate that a new Hitler could arrive and declare, I possess many tanks, I possess many aircraft, therefore, I simply wish to take Ukraine. So I decided to take Poland. We have to show them that's not how it works. Of course, there are many pro-Russian politicians and various lobbyists. Someone somewhere is interfering, but the predominant feeling is that this cannot be permitted. Tomorrow, Russia will march on Finland because it saw we can invade and crush them with sheer force. The West will grow weary, and everyone eventually does get tired. But no one will let go of this now, and I repeat, if everyone abandons us tomorrow, we will still be defending our own land. I didn't finish explaining the practical side of things. Not everyone can just get up and leave. And the ideological aspect is that this is my home. Why should you, a person in a helmet, tell me where to live? I want to live right here. Go ahead and kill me, but I will remain here. And that's why our military personnel are so highly motivated. Your people are motivated purely by money. Because why would you go to Ukraine? Why would you personally go to Ukraine? What do you have to do with Ukraine? What are you fighting for on Ukrainian territory? But I am fighting for my home in my own country. So the motivation varies. Look, when it becomes a matter of life and death, I have no place to flee. But you can simply turn around and return home to your mother. Understand?
Nowhere to go, you could just stay home.
What do you mean stay home? When you went to Kiev?
When Zelensky's criminal regime is overthrown,
See, you and I.
and live a normal life.
Why are we using these slogans and this nonsense? We're supposed to be talking seriously. Let's be... You're speaking nonsense. There's really no criminal regime like that. The funniest part, and what turned out to be quite disadvantageous for you, is that Zelensky was elected, because as long as Poroshenko was in power, you could always claim he was some kind of Nazi. But they went and elected a completely opposite character, a Russian-speaking one. Can you imagine? Zelensky is a Russian speaker from Kryvyi Rih. And now trying to pin this on him, saying he's a Nazi holding us captive here, just doesn't fly. It's such utter nonsense. What Nazism? We had 35,000 Jewish people come here for their holiday. How did they come if we have Nazism? How is that even possible? How can we be receiving aid from countries so incredibly diverse, multicultural, and varied if Nazism is truly present here? How can that possibly be the case?
There was some plan there for a heavenly Jerusalem, I think, right?
Well, there you go again. You see, if that plan existed somewhere, I think all your channels would have shown it by now, just like those agreements. But just talking...
I think they showed it somewhere.
If that were actually true, you'd already possess it, both digitally and as a hard copy, and you would be presenting all of it to me right now. But it doesn't exist at all. It's entirely fabricated.
Me?
What do you mean, do you need to? If you say something, you have to be accountable for your words. First and foremost, you have to be accountable to yourself. You're saying things, but have you considered you might be talking nonsense? You need to check. You should understand the meaning of every single word before speaking, not just blurt things out and then say, I heard it somewhere. It was written in an elevator, when asked for your source. So what slavery are you talking about? Again, if? Yes.
I didn't mention slavery.
Well, that we're being held captive.
I wanted to give an example. An analogy. So, as you mentioned, if someone were to come into your home, you would defend your home until the very end, wouldn't you?
Yes.
And I wanted to draw an analogy. For instance, if you are a slave and people come to your master's place, to your house, right, to the yard, they're knocking on the doors and the master says, go defend it, and you ran off like a little dog.
Now you can take this analogy, it is just an analogy, right? It's not a real story. Now apply that analogy. Who's the master, who's the slave?
The master is your current government, and the slaves are...
What makes you say that? Based on what?
In fact, that's how it is.
No, name one. One process where that's a fact. Just because you add the word factually, that doesn't make your statements any more valid or more substantiated. You claim no dates, no locations are needed. So tell me, what constitutes slavery? Who is the master, and in what sense?
In Ukraine, young men are simply taken from public transport to the military enlistment office.
That's conscription. How is that slavery?
Conscription is...
It's the law. Okay, so if a man steals and the police catch him, is that also slavery or what?
How does conscription work? A person gets a summons. They report to the military enlistment office. That's how it should be, not people caught on the street.
Some line up at military enlistment offices, some get a summons, others are simply caught. And I'll immediately state that if there's a violation somewhere, if things go too far, there are consequences for that. They get punished for it. Where the law is broken, they get punished for it.
Just recently,
we are 5 times fewer than you. We need a mobilization resource.
They stopped a bus, took all the young men off it, and drove them away. Is that normal?
That specific case needs investigation. I don't know how they were stopped, but if illegal, believe me. We do everything by the law, and if anyone breaks it, well, eventually, those who violated it will be punished for their actions. Well, our mobilization is ongoing constantly because there are 5 times fewer of us than you. We are in need of people. And you yourself are asking, if we have some mercenaries fighting for us, then why are people being caught on buses? because there are no mercenaries fighting. Those are isolated incidents, a mere drop in the ocean. What does slavery have to do with this? You're in slavery, Putin says, and you obey. How many terms has Putin served now? Look, Russia is such a large country, with 140 million people, and besides Putin, there's not one adequate leader. Why hasn't Putin prepared a successor? Does this mean everyone else there is incapable, except for Putin?
I think he'll find a replacement.
Prep. And why wasn't he prepared before? Why is your Putin the only one? What do you mean, no need?
He's still strong.
And can he, as a person, make mistakes?
Anyone can err.
Well, what alternative do you have? What if, for example, it turns out that everything you've been saying about Putin is a lie? And what will you do to Putin then? How will you deal with that? What will you do about it?
Personally, nothing.
Well, not you, but who will? Patrushev or Kadyrov? Who? What about Kadyrov? What's your take on him? What is he? Is he a normal person? Is that normal? How is that even possible? So you live there and you, judging by your eyes, you're not Chechen. Is that really fine with you? Are you suggesting that Chechens are simply driving you like cattle?
Chechens are not driving us.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Look, if you go out and do something to a Chechen, he'll make one call, 2 vans will show up, and they'll beat you to a pulp, and no one will come to help you. Well, maybe you have a couple of friends. So look, we have the Chechen Republic and we have Tatarstan, but where is the Russian Republic or the simply Russian one? And a Russian citizen is a citizen of Russia, correct? A Buryat is a Russian citizen. A Chechen is a Russian citizen. The term Russian, if you're not aware of this already, signifies an Orthodox Christian. Russian means... No, that's exactly it. Well, how else would you say it?
It is simply an anthropological type, we could say, in that sense.
No, there's nothing anthropological about it. You can read it later.
There are Germans, there are Finns, there are Russians.
There, you just answered your own question. Why is it that Finn, German, Frenchman, Ukrainian, Chechen, Tatar, and Buryat are all treated as nouns, yet the word Russian functions as an adjective? I mean, I'm not some Ukrainian-esque person. And when you converse with a Buryat or a Chechen, he will state, I am a Russian Buryat. But what are you? A Russian what? A Russian Russian? Who are you? There's a republic, a Russian republic?
Now it's linguistic debates.
No, it's simple. Read about it later, you'll be surprised. What Russian truly means. Historically, Russian was a term that was used to identify any Christian in, for example, Rus, or even in your Novgorod, within Muscovy. It means a Christian and Orthodox one, since, well, obviously not a Catholic. You're Russian, but there's a Buryat Russian. He's Russian. What kind of Russian are you? Because there is no such thing as a nation.
What's the right analogy? A Ukrainian, a Chechen? What are we exactly? Slavs?
Well, that's exactly the secret. There isn't one singular identity for you all. Instead, there are various national republics. You are a multinational republic, or rather a federation, which includes Chechens, Dagestanis, and Kabardino-Balkarians. But there is no Russian nation. I mean, it doesn't exist anywhere. Where does it end? What does it include? There's no such thing, you see.
But there is a Russian. Well, it doesn't matter that.
And where is the Russian? Where is the Russian Republic?
There is no Russian Republic. All of Russia is.
What do you mean? Hold on. All of Russia? But within Russia, there are. Well, what else? What else can you say when you've already been completely backed into a corner?